Chapter 24. We ride in the van, and I think of the fields where we run, where I buried bloody pads in the small hole while Chico and Pulga gave me privacy and kept watch, where I layered myself with more. It's less now than before, and I will my body to stop bleeding, to stop draining, to reserve my energy as much as possible as I run, away from Ray, as I run toward safety and maybe dreams. But lately I've forgotten to dream. No, that's not right. I made myself stop dreaming. The day after Poppy left, when Mommy came back from going with Tia to get the housekeeping job at the resort, she looked at me with a smile on her face, and that wasn't really a smile. Pues mírame una cevita, she said, the maid's uniform in her hand. Ah, pequeña, I tried. I endured things from your puppy, because I thought it would mean better for us, for you, if we were together. But now you get to see me go and change the sheets of the rich and los Americanos, clean the shit they leave behind. Mommy is beautiful. She could have probably married any man she wanted, but she loved Poppy, whose love ran out, and who then ran far away from us. It's an honest job, Tia Consuelo told Mommy. You'll get tips sometimes. Mommy's eyes filled with tears, and mine did too. The way Mommy shrank into herself, like she was so ashamed, hurt me more than even when Poppy left. Tia hugged her. I'm sorry, Lucia. I'll help you learn from basic English, and maybe then you can waitress, she told Mommy. Tia Consuelo had learned enough conversational English the year she lived in the States. I know, Consuelo, and I am grateful, like I'm supposed to be. How else could I support us? It's not something I dreamed of doing. Los sueños y los hombres son para las antijalles, Tia Consuelo said, squeezing Mommy closer to her. Mommy let out a half-sob, half-laughing, agreeing that, yes, only dumbasses believed in dreams or men. And then they told me and Pulga we were going to celebrate Mommy's new job, a new future. So we got to Tia's scooter and rode to the Miramar, where Pulga and I ate and Mommy and Tia drank beer. And I said, laughing, Sus sueños y hombres son para las validajas. I decided when they were right, and I told myself dreaming up a future wasn't worth the pain. That would come when eventually, inevitably, it would get crushed. Look, there it is, Chico yells. And he's right. Oh my God, that's it. Already we can see the train. Dusty steel that looks like it's traveled through hell. I hear Pulga gasp next to me as we near the tracks, and my heart races as something like a dream feels like it's being born inside me. Listen, the driver says. He turns around to look at the three of us directly. You see that? He gestures towards a wrapped chain-link fence. You can climb the fence or find an opening. There are openings along there to get into the Ferromex train yard. Outside the smudged, dirty window of the van, the yard looks mostly deserted, but there sits Rapistia, waiting for us. My stomach flutters with anticipation. Pulga looks excited too. Okay, he says, digging into his pocket for the money we owe the guy. Listen, the driver says again. How old are you boys? I sense a dread comes over me, and I glance at the man's face. I'm relieved he thinks I'm a boy. But why does he want to know our ages? Why even has he collected his money and thrown us out of the van already, and driven away? Pulga clears his throat. 17, his voice is harsher as he spits out the lie. And I can tell he wants to seem older, tougher, and I can tell the driver doesn't believe him. There is a hesitation around the edges of Pulga's voice. That reminds me, he is just as much as a little kid as Chico. The driver looks at each other. I have 3 boys, a couple years apart, but about your ages. Listen, be careful. Pulga nods. How much extra do we owe you for the drive to here? The driver shakes his head. Forget it. But his voice is tinged with regret, as though he'd like nothing more than to collect more money from us, and be on his way, as though he'd like nothing more than to dump us wherever and forget about us. But something won't let him. Just be careful, you understand? The 3 of you have no business making a trip like this. Do you know how dangerous this is? Yes, Pulga says, but if he only knew what awaits us back home, maybe he'd take us all the way to the boulder. border, all the way to the States. The driver nods. I know. He hesitates a moment. And out of nowhere, the guy who ran out of the road last night, he couldn't have been too much older than you boys. He lets out a deep sigh, and I wonder if bringing us here, not charging us a single peso, wasn't some kind of penance. Bueno, he says finally as he takes off his cowboy hat and runs his hand over his hair before putting the hat back on. Que Dios viaja con ustedes. Pulga nods, and we climb out of the van, once after another, into the hot, dusty day and hurry toward the fence. We walk along it until we come across an opening, just like the driver said. You think he's for real? Pulga says. Ask as we look back and notice he's still there, looking in our direction. For all I know, he is calling someone to let them know he got 3 suckers here. Pulga looks around, but no one comes. Who knows, I tell him, and I think of how we can't trust anyone, but how the only way to do this trip is by sometimes putting your life in a stranger's hands. A minute later, the white van drives off, and we are walking along the tracks alone. Expect for a man in a neon worker's vest walking next to the train on the tracks. Come on, Pulga says. We avoid him and hurry towards some trees in a bit of distance, where we can sit on the ground and try to get unnoticed. I look at the train cars and some graffiti covered. Some are plain gray steel and rust. Closer now. I see the Ferromex name is in the faded paint on the side. I notice a few people in the distance emerging from a building. Approaching the worker, relief pours over me when I see their backpacks. Where here are others just like us. Those guys are gonna get on the train too, Pulga says, eyeing them. They're asking that worker when it'll take off, I bet. When will it? Chico says. I don't know, Pulga says. I mean, sometimes it takes a day or two, maybe more. People just camp out and wait. For days, Chico says. Sometimes. But the train is already here, so I don't think we'll be here for days. And the worker is inspecting it, so I'm betting it will leave soon, Pulga says, his eyes still taking in the worker and the train yard. The train. I look at the rundown buildings along the track. All of them. Look, abandoned, with broken and dusty windows. But then I see some figures moving behind the windows for a moment. I wonder if La Bruja is here, watching over me. I stare, trying to conjure her up, trying to make her fly out of one of those windows. She'd swoop down toward me and take me away. Let me hold on to her hair as she flies me through the sky and takes me somewhere safe, somewhere I won't be afraid to dream. She will take Pulga and Chico too, and go back home and get Mommy and Tia, and bring them along. Even that small baby. Some kind of pain shoots through my chest, and for a moment I feel the baby's mouth sucking at my breast, still demanding of me, even as I get farther and farther away. I wrap my arms across my front, and the feeling stops. I stare back up at the window. Nothing is there. No one comes. It's only my mind playing tricks. I'm so hungry, Chico says. We ate yesterday, but my stomach is rumbling too. Here, I tell him, pulling some cookies from my bag that I've brought all the way from home. The cookies Mommy and I would eat for breakfast in the morning. They're broken and partially crumbs, but I poured them into each of our hands. You know what I could go for right now? Chico sucks up his crumbs. The tamales, pelos volatidos, poncho, and the hot chocolate we have on Noche Buena. My mouth waters at the thought of food Mommy and Tia prepare for Christmas Eve, especially tamales with that rich, earthy risotto made with toasted pumpkin seed, a strip of red or green chile, and olive, a few garbanzo beans, a little nugget of pork, all nestled in a perfect seasoned masa, wrapped in slick banana leaf, waiting to be opened like a gift. I swallow the saliva that has gathered in my mouth. And some of your mama's chirmol, he says to Pulga, with a fried tortilla. That salt on top like she does when it comes right out of the oil. And, oh, or pequeña, your mommy's rice, he says to me. Both my stomachs and my heart are hit with fresh pangs of pain. Or the sopa mien from El Mirama, he whispers. That place has the best sopa mien. It does, Pulga says. I know, I say, closing my eyes and getting lost in the smell of the food cooking at El Miramar. That smell that hits you while you're still on the street, before you even enter the small restaurant. the one where Tia and Mommy celebrated her new housekeeping job, and where we started going every Thursday, and the owner would fill our bowls of sopa mien with extra noodles because he was in love with Mommy. We'd sit and slurp them, having contest of how on who could suck them up fastest while Mommy and Tia drank their cervezas and talked about life. La vida this and la vida that, our mothers would say, and look exhausted by la vida, before looking at us and smiling. Stop, Pulga, tells Chico as he rattles off more food. I could eat a mountain of chuchitos. God, I could eat 1,000 of them, one right after another. I'd sit in a corner with a pile of chuchitos and then peel them off. Peel each one, and I shove them into my mouth, all that masa melting on my tongue. Man, stop it. Don't talk about food anymore, Pulga says. But he's laughing, and I can't tell he doesn't mean it, even as our stomachs moan and echo with emptiness. The memories feed our souls. Close your eyes, I tell Pulga. I want to keep watch. Just for a second, close your eyes, both of you. I tell them to imagine they're in the kitchen, and I can explain how my mother makes her rice. The hundreds of times I watched her wash and season it. I tell them to picture Pulga's mama in the kitchen too, cooking the chicken she prepares on crema, and Chico's mamita is there too, making tortillas from freshly ground corn. Can you see them cooking for us? Can you see us? Sitting there, them sharing food? The tears are streaming down my face before I realize it, and I am wiping at them. Wheeling back from the table to the bright dusty yard, I look at Pulga and he is sitting up. His eyes are watching the yard, trying to look tough, refusing to cry. Don't be a macho, Pulga, I tell him. He gives me a dirty look. I'm not. We can't get emotional or lost in the past, you know? But he's wrong. Maybe thinking about the past is exactly what will keep us going, I tell him. I need to make it for myself, but also for Mommy, so she won't see what wouldn't happen to me if I'd stayed. He shakes his head. No, that's will keep us back. I stare at him, not sure whether the fierceness I see in his eyes is a good or bad thing. It seems different than the little kid toughness he's always used to cover up his sensitivity. This is harder, colder. It worries me. A sound of clanking and rumbling fills the yard, and the intensity. Instantly, Pulga is on his feet, looking toward the tracks. One of the cars is moving, then another. The workman in the vest walking along beside them, inspecting, but the train only moves a few feet before it stops and sits idle. It's gonna leave soon, Pulga whispers. But if we go on now, we're gonna bake under that sun. I definitely don't want to get on till we have to, Chico says. I heard the steel is burning hot. Well, won't that worker guy kick us off if we get on? I asked. Pulga shakes his head. Nah, they keep up with everyone. The most they'll do is ask for some pisto. Pulga rubs his fingers together, and I nod. Everyone can be bought. Still, we should be ready, Pulga says. In the distance, I see people come out nearby buildings and overgrown brush. They climb on the train with some bags of supplies, with blankets and pillows, others with just a backpack. Some wear boots, others sneakers, and others flip-flops. I notice the small platform between the boxcars already have people tucked away in them. Pulga follows my gaze. Those areas are easier to ride than the top, but those people have probably been here for hours, maybe since yesterday, and sometimes when the train stops or slows down abruptly, there are these parts between the cars that hit together, crush whatever is between them. Pulga smacks his hand together. People lose their feet like that all the time. I suck in my breath, impressed and a little surprised by how much Pulga knows, despite how much he doesn't. We watch as women reach down for their children, as men lift toddlers and babies into waiting arms. There are pairs and trios of young people traveling together, and men who look much older than us, walking up and down the train, figuring out where might be the best place to sit. Those on board sit on the beast's back under the grueling sun. They cover their faces, the backs of their heads and necks from the sun. Others can cardboard pieces as sun shields. We watch them, sweating and melting, and as the time ticks on, some climb back down and seek shade closest to the tracks. We wait, all of us, for the beast to wake up again. We watch as it sleeps, unbothered, unhurried, It doesn't care that my heart is racing, that my mind is dizzy from the heat and hunger, that my body is prickly and sweet and readiness. It doesn't care that we're dying, literally dying, to get as far away as possible from the place we love but have turned on us. It doesn't care how desperate we are to go on. We wait until La Bestia is ready. Finally, it hisses awake again. It clanks and rattles. It rumbles for a moment. No one moves. We wait to see if this is really it. And then we all hear the call, Vamonos, vamonos, and see people gesturing to each other to come on, hurry up, as the wheels begin to move. People run from every direction. Let's go, Pulga says. I think it's leaving this time. We grab our backpacks and run toward the train, crowded by others running too. It's gathering speed as soon more people are running along the side tracks, looking for the perfect place to grab on, pushing others out of their way. Already it's crowded with people on top who withstood the heat for hours, looking down at those of us running. Others are clinging to its side, urging and instructing those running below. You suffer either way, La Bestia, this is it. A moment, just fragments of cars. Now an enormous steel centipede groaning and hissing to life, its power vibrating through the ground. Hurry, hurry, Pulga yells. Before it starts moving too fast, he yells ahead of Chico and me. We race to the tracks and run along the gravel, just like everyone else. Brown faces and arms reaching. I run faster, pumping my legs, my throat in my heart. My feet are a flurry, and I feel like I am both in and out of my body. I hear Pulga's voice faintly, yelling something up ahead, but I don't even know what he is saying anymore. The world feels like it's whirling faster as I run, as others run past me and next to me and behind me, as the beast rumbles and roars in my ears. I watch as Pulga grabs onto one of the metal bars, the side of a ladder, that leads onto the top of the train. A few more steps and then he is pulling himself up and climbing the ladder, to the top of the train, already crowded with so many people. I see his panicked face. As he looks down, tells Chico to run faster. I watch Chico reach for the same bar, watching him miss it once, twice. My abdomen tightens and tightens, pulsing with pain. The sun gleams behind Pulga, like a golden corona around his head, and in an instant he reminds me of Jesus. Jesus' fate was sealed, but ours is not yet. I run faster, and I have a chance to get on. Then I see Chico's face, the terror as he runs, as he realizes he's falling behind. I won't leave him. I can't. I'm already leaving so many things behind. If he doesn't get on, then I won't. Either we will watch Pulga go on without us. I fall back, point to where he needs to grab, and watch as Chico runs faster. I stay behind him, those steel bars speeding up next to us. I can feel the train breathing like it wants to suck me in, under its body, under its wheels, and I feel like practically slicing through my ankles, detaching my feet from my body. I stumble. Come on, Pulga screams. At last, Chico grabs on, and he is being dragged, his feet coming close, so to those wheels. Pulga is shouting at him, but I can't hear anything except the roaring of the heavy breath of the beast. Chico finally manages to get one foot on the lowest bar, and he pulls himself up. Climbs to the top like Pulga. The train gathers speed. My backpack swings back and forth, making me lose my balance. They are both looking down at me, now their faces in and out of focus, their mouths wide as they yell and scream to me. I run faster as the train sucks at my feet. I reach the bar, just out of reach. I run faster, reach for the metal bar again. This time I grab on, and the full power of La Bestia is suddenly traveling through my body, shaking me violently. I struggle to get on one foot, feeling like as soon as I do, La Bestia will gnaw at the other one, and then my whole body under. Please, God, please. I close my eyes and lift the other foot onto the lowest bar. Pull my weight up with all my strength, then I am climbing 1, 2, 3, 4 bars, wedging myself between people as I pull myself on top of the train. Chico and Pulga are yelling and hollering with relief and joy, grabbing onto each other, and then me too. I laugh and their faces shine, even with more happiness. Chico's cheeks so round, highlighted by the sunlight. Pulga's more serious face and downcast eyes, now gleaming with achievement. The train gains speed and the ground becomes a blur. One by one, people in the distance stop running as the train and all hope leave. come to a defeated stop when they realize they will no longer catch it, but we did. We did it. Pulga yells over the crackling of the tracks. Chico throws his arms around Pulga's shoulders, turns his head to the sky, and lets out a long wolf's howl. Pulga cracks up and begins howling too. I know, I will always remember this exact image. I can't remember when I last saw them looking so happy, so free. I can't remember the last time I felt this way too. Everyone around us laughs and lifts their arms in the air. Together, we howl and holler and yell in victory. And with so many voices, so many of us clustered together, not even the train can mute our celebration. We did it. We are not those in the distance who have stopped running and have to wait for the next train. We are not we are not those back in our neighborhoods, waking up to another day and another and another and another whatever threat was climbed in through our windows, whispered our horrible fate in our ears. We are lunchadors, we are fighters, we are those who dare to try against the impossible odds. We determine our own fate. The train speeds up even more, and the hot wind is whipping at our faces. The sun beats down on us, so bright it hardly seems real. We settle in, weaving our fingers into the small holes at the grates on top of the train, and holding on so tight. And even though we are afraid, even though the fear is right there beneath the surface, it's a different kind of fear. It's fear with hope, and hope matters as we ride into the unknown future.